the internet about the referendum and how important it is. And we have signs up all over. So I think we've done everything that we can do before the election. By September 23rd in Menominee, more than 2,000 people had already voted. So that was about 6 weeks before the election, you know, that a good portion of Menominee has already voted. So we're well on our way, I think, to having the election done.
Thank you, Lorraine. It's really great work you've done in Dunn County. So thank you. Ellen's on the call. Do you want to cover this slide, Ellen? Oh, we can't hear you.
I'm suffering from back pain this morning. I just want to listen.
Oh, okay. I'll go ahead and jump in. So some of you heard we had the Fair Maps Beer Day, 2 places in Menominee, one place in Hudson. It went well, thanks to all the volunteers who talked to people during that event. It was really tough. We had to drink beer. And then last Sunday we had Fall in Line for Fair Maps. We wanted to raise awareness about the referendum in Dunn County. That was really fun day. It ended up being sunny and becoming beautiful. The vote mobile came from Madison. So here's a picture of all of us, and we got some really great local news coverage. So that's really encouraging because that's really key to raise awareness. So hopefully if, say, Polk County or some other counties have a referendum coming up in April, we can use maybe something similar concept. We've got signs and ideas now, so maybe we can replicate that in the future. Video team, we've been putting out some videos around candidates and where they stand. We've been using debates that have been happening on Wisconsin Public Radio, the West Side, so check it out. We've got the 93rd Assembly District and 28th Assembly District. Those are on our website, they're on our YouTube channel, and you can find them on Facebook too and share them if you can. And then the Elbridge Project, which is our more satirical, trying to show the irony of gerrymandering, came out with a video called That's Just Foolish, and there's a few more in the pipeline. So keep your eyes open for those and share as you can. Douglas?
Yes, we've had a really great few weeks since the last meeting. Terry's on the call this morning. He got a letter to the editor published in the Buffalo County News, and then Descartes Beaver Dam Daily Citizen published another letter. Michael Stern's opinion piece appeared in the Hudson Star Observer. And then due to the success of the event this weekend, we have an article coming out in the Sun Argus, which covers the Spring Valley and Elmwood neighborhoods. You can see the latest here from Maureen on her Gerrymanderland in the comic strip. And our fact sheet is still being fine-tuned, but know that the Iowa model is being held up as an example of how we can do it right here in Wisconsin. And if you want to see more background, just go to the volunteer dashboard there.
Thanks, Douglas. Awesome. Anne, any updates you'd like to share real quick?
Nope, other than that's the information, and I hope people are using it to inform all the voters about who might support our pledge, but no update with the legislators.
Awesome. It's really great to have this, really easy to refer back to. So Anne Marie, I'll pass it to you.
Okay, thanks, Janelle. So for the People's Map Commission, it's started. We had our first hearing, and what our mission is outlined in that executive order, and everybody can go and look at it online under the People's Map Commission website. But in basic summary, it's to prepare proposed maps for the legislators to consider. So that's a reminder that this is just an advisory committee, that we aren't really making maps that the legislators actually even have to look at. So we want to make this something that they will want to look at and consider. We Also, we'll hold at least one hearing in each of the 8 congressional districts. So that's really important to get the word out and hear from the people that these hearings are key, because we're going to look to the people to assist in drawing the maps that are fair and accurately represent Wisconsin and the population. So we really depend on people showing up for these hearings. Next slide. So our area, the WWNVD, actually we're in parts of 2 congressional districts. And here's the most current CD map. The purple is the 3rd CD, which is Ron Kine, which is covers the area for many of us. And then the 7th is the green area. I know this isn't too big, but you know, one of the things when I was really looking at it, I was kind of surprised at the number of counties that are in the 3rd CD that I'm basically representing for our People's Map Commission. And then if you just look at it, we know that the 3rd CD, Ron Kind, is a safe Democratic area. And Ron Kind's been in office for a very long time. But the thing that's really interesting is how it's been changed, you know, how it goes along the Mississippi River, and then that purple area, you know, kind of dips up to the north again in mid-state. So, you know, that's one of the key things we look at. Is there gerrymandering? Is there like weird shapes? And that's kind of a weird shape. And if we go to the next slide, this is just the change in the congressional districts from the last redistricting. So on the right-hand side is the map that we just saw, the current map. And the one on the left-hand side was the previous map that was created after the 2000 districting and census. So we can see how really this last go round about 10 years ago when they redistrict, how it really changed, at least in these congressional districts. So to me, it's just yet another illustration of the effect of gerrymandering. And so I thought you might want to look at that. Okay, next slide. So the hearings, they're held on Thursdays, starting at 5:30 and run till about 8:30. And the way they're set up is there will be a number of speakers for the first hour. And then after that, we'll hear testimony, generally from the person of that congressional district, but it could be, they're not limiting testimony to only the congressional district. That is key for that particular hearing. But these speakers are there to inform the commissioners and help us learn about map drawing and all the issues, but they're also a really great tool for people, you know, just the regular community that's interested in understanding at some level of detail the complexity of redistricting. So it's good to show up just to listen to the speakers. October 1st was our first meeting for the 8th congressional district. I put the URL there. It's on YouTube, so you can go back and watch it if you missed it. Eric Holder, the former Attorney General and chair of the National Democratic Redistricting Committee, gave a really nice pep talk to us all, and it was great to hear him. Karen Nelson from the Appleton's mayor office, she's in charge of diversity and inclusion, and also the census there. She gave a talk about the census and so gave some very interesting input on what transparency of the process means to her and what that might look like. So those were valuable comments. And Ruth Greenwood, who is the co-director of Voting Rights and Redistricting Campaign Legal Center, who is also highly involved in the Whitford case going up to the Supreme Court. She's a lawyer, and I'm not sure if she's also a statistician, but she really knows about mapping, and she knows the ins and outs of all of it. And she'll be a great resource, I think, for the commission as we move forward. So it was very interesting hearing her. Then we had the 8th CD testimony, and just, there's a lot of great information, but the things that impressed, I think, me as a commissioner to hear about was the people talking about the redrawing of the 55th, 56th, and 57th assembly districts in Appleton, and how they created safe districts and really affected the people that live in those communities. And they noted a lack of responsiveness from their new representatives. Those things are really good for the commissioners to hear. Another one is a former four-time senator showed up and talked about how gerrymandering increases polarization and breaks down consensus building. And so there's a lot of other things, and we'll go into them as we go along next month. But please, I guess my message is show up, and thanks for Carlene for organizing everybody to show up for these commission meetings. The next one is the 29th, and the one that we all need to really prepare for is for our third CD on November 19th. So thank you.
Thank you, Anne Marie. Fantastic.
Yes, thanks so much, Anne Marie. It was nice to be able to report that two of the members of the commission, you and Anthony Phillips, who has spoken to this group, are both members of the Fair Maps teams in your area. So I had a lot of personal pride about that and was really proud of you all. In addition, 3 of the people who testified are involved with the 8th Congressional District Fair Maps team. So that was also like, yay, we're getting out there. Our voices are being heard. So that was good. This is just a reminder of the goal of what we're doing from the coalition standpoint, the transparent process with public input, districts that represent the statewide electorate and that respect communities of interest. So again, these are the 11 counties that have referendums coming up in November. And we just learned this week that Vilas County, Land O'Lakes has, the city of Land O'Lakes has a referendum on the ballot, which somehow didn't get communicated to Beverly or me. And we're like, we read about it in the newspaper, like, oh my gosh. So called Kay Hoff up there in Vilas County, and she said, oh yeah, I forgot to tell you. So 3 municipal referendums, so that's pretty exciting. Go ahead. So I just wanted to tell you about some of the things that we have accomplished just in the last little bit. 13,000 plus postcards have been sent to voters in the counties where there are referendums. We've had dozens and dozens of letters to the editors. So thank you to the writing group, but also to teams all around the state who've been writing letters in support of the referendum in counties where there is one. And also lots of letters saying, hey, take a look. Where does your legislator stand? This is important. Make sure that you're voting for the people who support this. We've supported billboards in Brown and Iowa counties. And if I had been sharp enough, I would have put the Iowa County billboard in here. My husband and my mother and I took a joyride around part of the state on Sunday. Took the whole day off. It was amazing how good that felt. And we saw the Iowa County sign that's on Highway 151. So I took a big picture of it, and I'll send it to Janelle so she can share it with you. And then there are literally hundreds of yard signs that are out in people's yards. And now Janelle has 250 of them. And I don't know, Julie can tell you whether it's the Farmers Union or Bill that has 250 of them up in your neck of the woods. So that's pretty exciting as well. And these are some of the things that we're doing from Milwaukee and Madison. There are radio ads that are still running for another week, I believe. I'm looking at my calendar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, through the end of next week, the radio ads that Matt Rothschild recorded will be recording. I also sent, and I hope you all got, the Facebook graphics and the suggested language for those. Please post them on your Facebook. Do them one at a time, week after week. One of them is for the languages, when people click on it, takes them to the voter pledge. and or actually 3 of them, I should say, 3 of them take folks to the voter pledge, and 3 of them take folks to the list of pledged candidates. So it is the way that it's the same graphics that are in ads in some targeted areas, which is the next thing. But it's also a way that we can do this without paying for it. So please, please post those and share them with your friends. Ask them to post them. Because even if you don't have a referendum, it doesn't say vote yes, it says, hey, vote for the candidate. So it's reinforcing that whole idea that I'll only vote for candidates who support this, and oh, let me check out who they are. And then just want to go back to the People's Maps Commission. See Anne Marie's name on there. These are live links. So when the green there are live links. So when Janelle sends this out, this is also on the People's Maps Commission website. You can submit written comments. Please do. There's no opening and closing of that window. It is open all the time. So please submit written comments on that. There's information there about the speakers that Anne Marie talked about, and then you can also watch the live hearing. The window for testimony opens for about 5 or 6 days, right around the time of the hearing itself, and it closes, I think last time it closed at about 2 o'clock in the afternoon on the day of the hearing. It's a first come, first served basis, and the people who live in the focus congressional district get priority. So definitely when it comes to the 3rd, you want to make sure that you get signed up to, I hope a lot of you will get signed up to give oral testimony. And to support that, we are having panels of local people who talk about how redistricting affects them. Last night, I think I saw Janelle on the panel last night, although I couldn't see you. It was very different. I did a webinar. It's the first time I've ever done a webinar, and it was very different.
Me? Okay.
So last night we had a panel of 3 local people in the 5th Congressional District, Leslie DeMuth, who lives in Jefferson County, Lena Eng in Waukesha County, and Dave Warnicott, who lives in Washington County. And they talked about how they view this issue and why it's important to them. And then Thursday, day after tomorrow at 6:30, we will have a testimony training. Julie Emery, who both Janelle and Juliet know, does that training. She did it for the 8th Congressional District. We will be doing it every time. And it's very good. There's a woman from Washington County who did both the trainings, and she just said she couldn't say enough good things about Julie's training, because it really is about how to move people. And so when in these hearings, and Anne-Marie, this is not to take anything away from you, the commissioners are important, but even more important is what the testimony says to the people who are watching and who access it later, regular folks. And we need to be moving those people to support this. So there is a lot of pushback happening from the state legislature on this commission about it being super partisan and this, and that, and the other. And we just need to be able to tell a compelling story in this testimony that people who might not really get it or think that there's nothing wrong with the maps begin to understand what the issues are. So I encourage you to take part in the testimony training, and I think that's all I have.
Awesome. Thank you, Carlene. Thanks a lot. And next month, we'll really be focusing on this, and we'll have hopefully Anne Marie and Anthony, 2 commissioners, as our guest speakers. So it'll be really great to dive into that some more. So now what I'd like to do is we're going to watch this fantastic 3-minute video that the Wisconsin Farmers Union has put together about gerrymandering because it covers so many of the points. And then we'll take 10 minutes to kind of discuss how we can bring this up with people. And then we'll have the conversation with Julie. So we'll watch the movie, and I'm just going straight to the Wisconsin Farmers Union website, which you can go to. Lots of great resources here. And we're gonna watch this together, but first I need to change the audio so you can hear it. So hold on one second. Okay, here we go. Can everyone hear, or is it too soon to ask? It's good? Okay.
Over the last several years, Wisconsin has repeatedly made national news for having some of the most gerrymandered maps in the nation. Let's take a look at what that means. State lawmakers represent the people who reside in a defined area called the legislative district. Wisconsin's legislative districts, created by the majority party in the legislature in 2011, were found by federal courts in November 2016 and in January 2017 to be an unconstitutional political gerrymander that unfairly dilutes the votes of over half the state's citizens in violation of both the First and the 14th Amendments of the U.S. Constitution. The current partisan map was purposely drawn to favor one political party. Using computer modeling and sophisticated data algorithms, legislators in the majority party pack voters of the opposing party into as few districts as possible, so the minority wins big in those districts, but doesn't win many overall. On top of creating some oddly shaped districts, this also sets the stage for extreme partisanship. Elected officials don't hear from constituents with other points of view because they've all been drawn into other districts. In fact, the districts have been drawn to so heavily favor the incumbent that new candidates don't even bother to run for office. In 2016, 38 of 99 state assembly candidates ran unopposed in the general election. For democracy to thrive, we need competitive legislative districts and real elections. Not only does partisan gerrymandering poison our democracy, it's expensive, and Wisconsin taxpayers are footing the bill. Rather than drawing fair, nonpartisan districts, Wisconsin has spent over $4 million to defend the current gerrymandered maps. Tax dollars should be used for public needs like roads, schools, and infrastructure, not to defend political battles the majority of citizens do not support. So how do we, the voters, get better district maps? Luckily, other states, like Iowa, have created laws and the computer software to draw legislative districts based on nonpartisan factors, such as population, county and town borders, and contiguity of land area. The Wisconsin legislature will draw new districts in 2021, so we need to make sure that the problem of gerrymandering in Wisconsin gets better, not worse. As voters, we must assert our rights. Here's what you can do. 1. Voice your support for the state to implement a nonpartisan redistricting commission on social media and to your legislators. 2. Help pass a resolution or referendum in your county to support nonpartisan redistricting. Wisconsin Farmers Union can help provide the tools and resources you need to make it happen. 3. Call your legislators and ask them to support nonpartisan redistricting. And if they don't, vote them out. Elected officials who don't believe in fair democracy have no business representing their constituents. This isn't a partisan issue. Rigging maps is wrong whether it's Republicans or Democrats who are doing it, and there have been instances of both across the nation. The majority of counties in Wisconsin have already passed advisory resolutions in favor of nonpartisan redistricting. Voters, no matter their politics, want fair maps. Citizens should be choosing their representatives, not the other way around. For more information on how gerrymandering affects you, visit wisconsinfarmersunion.com.
Awesome. It's full of fantastic information, so it moves fast.
I hadn't seen that for about 6 weeks. It's just so superb. I
Yeah.
think.
Another great thing to share on social media. So Douglas, I'll let you introduce the conversation.
Yeah, so we're going to break into groups of approximately 4. And this thing is so packed with factual tidbits that we're trying to imagine how we can have a conversation with our friends who trust us to share with them, a few tidbits that move them to take action, as this video so clearly describes. So we want to move everyone that we know.
Good. I have a question. One thing that I find particularly shocking is the number of unopposed seats in the 2016 and 2018 election?
16.
Do we know how many unopposed seats there are in this election?
I can get you that exact number. It's far fewer. I do know that it happens on both sides. There are districts where Republicans don't run and districts where Democrats don't run. So that isn't just one party, but I can look that up. Douglas, if you want to just not put me in a group, and I will work on that number.
Great, thanks.
Cool. All right. I will see if I can take you out of here, Carlene. You might just have to go to the group, Carlene, and not participate because I'm.
When you send me there, I can just not go. I
Okay.
can not join.
Perfect. I'm going to go here. All right, here we go.
What kind of talking points there are for fair maps and how we can have conversations with other people about this. And I'm guessing both of you have been more involved with this project and initiative than I have. I'm kind of new, but I am working with Carolyn Saunders to get a referendum on the ballot in Polk County, hopefully in April. And so I'm just kind of absorbing information, and there was a lot packed into this. And so I think we're supposed to be talking about how we can engage in conversations and get people to come on board with how important gerrymandering is. So that's, I mean, I can say more, but maybe could you introduce yourselves too? My name's Irene.
I'm Carol Skinner, and I've been doing various things for fair maps. I was doing some contacting of the legislators or candidates and getting people to either sign or admit they were never going to sign onto the pledge.
Uh-huh.
And so that has unfortunately become really a partisan issue, which is, I don't understand it, but none of the Republicans will sign the pledge and all the Democrats will. Don't get it.
Sad.
It is sad.
Along with masks.
Yeah. So what we're doing, I guess, is we're going to, I think the letter writing committee is writing letters to the editors of papers and stuff and letting people know who are the candidates who are not willing to sign a pledge to work toward fair maps. And here are those who are. And that's the extent of my involvement so far, but I'm ready for more.
Wow. Wow.
Last year, I went to the statewide conference up in Maiden Rock, I think it was, about this and got excited about it and heard about what was done in Michigan, which is the main part of the subject of that movie that's out.
Yeah.
And I've written at least one letter to the editor. I posted on Facebook sites, political ones and personal ones, about this several times. I'll give you a specific example. I try to help organize people in my county, which is Buffalo County. And one of our townships is not in the same assembly district as the rest of it. And then I looked at the other two counties in our assembly district and found out that each of them has one or two townships that are in a different assembly district. And So if you want to have some commonality about your representative doing things for your county, the roads, the county government, et cetera, it makes it very difficult to do that. Because in our assembly district, we have three different, we have one assembly member who represents a good share of the counties, but three other ones who represent pieces of it. And it doesn't make any sense.
So that sounds like an inroad to talk to people about that being an issue and a problem. Yeah, interesting. Wow.
Yeah, I think that's a really good example of how it becomes inefficient, you know. Are there any other ways that people have been successful in talking to other just regular old folks in their area?
We had a really great beer event. I don't know what it was called, but it was a Fair Maps event at the brewery right down the hill from our office. And my son worked the booth, and it was great to see him, you know, step up like that and explain to people what the whole thing was about, because a lot of people didn't know. Even people who are active Democrats were pretty unaware of what the whole situation is with regard to the maps. So that was really great. It was, you know, because of COVID, the turnout wasn't, you know, humongous, but it was a beautiful day. It was outside, and so it was a fun event. I wish more people had shown up, but yeah, it was good. I think if we could do more of those kind of meet and greet kind of things would be great. And unfortunately, because of the COVID, there hasn't been the county fairs and all that stuff that we could be appearing at. But sometimes there's winter things, like our co-op has these winter markets, and I bet you we could have a booth there, for example. So there's probably a lot of opportunities that we're just not really aware of, and we should maybe think about that.
Good idea. Yeah, very good idea. I think one point that I like bringing up to people is that there's so much support across the state for this. Like the Marquette School poll says 72% of people in Wisconsin support fair maps. I live in St. Croix County, which I think you do too, Carol. We passed referendum last April. 76% of people voted yes. Same in Pierce County. Hopefully that'll happen in Dunn County. Maybe next year it'll happen in Polk County. And I think for me, one of the points that I really like to bring up is, you know, regular Republicans, voters want this to happen. Like people in Wisconsin want fairness and they want to win on a level playing field. Like it's these wins that are fictitious are not very satisfying, right? They don't really mean anything deep down. And I think the distinction that I like to make is that it's the Republican elected officials, the Republican leadership that doesn't want this to happen, that Republican voters across the state do. And that's an insult to Republican voters too. Like even there, you know, the Republican elected officials aren't even listening to their constituents. And if they're not listening to them on such a clear message of 76% of people voting one way, why would they listen to us on anything, you know? So that's one way that I like to talk to people about it.
I like that point. That's good.
But I think there's lots of different angles, like that Wisconsin Farmers Union video shows. There's lots of different angles to bring it up, and probably different ways with different people at different times. But
so I did not get any kind of, I think Carly mentioned some kind of a Facebook something that she had sent out. I don't think I got anything like that. What would that have come from her or you, Janelle, or what?
I did get something like that. So I thought that maybe everyone on this group was on her distribution list, but maybe not. So let me make a note of that.
How long ago did you guys get that?
I think I got a first version maybe 2 weeks ago, and then a second version within the last week.
Nope.
Okay. I'm going to check with Carlene and make sure that her distribution list is up to date. Otherwise, I can forward it.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Well, if you forward it to me, I'll email back to Carlene and say, add me if I'm not on there.
Perfect. So that's Facebook info.
Yeah, I changed my Facebook page to have a big circular thing about fair maps. Everyone can do that. It's kind of cool.
Good idea.
Every time someone sees me, they see fair maps.
Nice.
Awesome. I love the passion. That makes a huge difference when people know that other people care, you know.
It does.
So,
If you guys haven't seen Slay the Dragon, it's a great movie. Irene, if you haven't seen that, check it out. It's good. I've been trying to forward it to lots of people because it's really interesting.
It's on my list of things to look at, and I'm also interested in how to access that testimony training.
Yeah, that'd be good.
do you guys get those emails from Carlene about training for testimony and things like that?
I only get the newsletter. That's pretty much what I get.
Okay.
You know, I think because I'm so new, I don't think I'm on most lists. So
Okay. That's a good to do. Thank you for bringing that up. I'm gonna double check that with Carlene after this call. So thank you. All right. See you
Nice
guys.
talking to you all, guys.
Yeah, great talk.
Janelle, you're muted. We can't hear you.
Oh man, I'm so sorry. Okay, thank you. So welcome, Julie, to this meeting. Thanks a lot for being here. Would you like to take a moment to introduce yourself?
Sure. Well, I know some friendly faces out there from the League of Women Voters and some work that we have been doing. So first off, let me just say hi, friends, and thank you so much for all the amazing organizing work that you're doing on behalf of Fair Maps in Western Wisconsin. It is such a crucial issue, and I appreciate you all so much, the energy you're putting towards this. Yeah, I'm Julie Keown-Bomar. I live in Chippewa Falls. Before that, in Menominee. And I work with the Wisconsin Farmers Union as executive director, and I've been here for just a little over 2 years. I have worked with Cooperative Extension before that as a regional director and educator in Eau Claire County. And I am a cultural anthropologist. By academic training, I would like to definitely refer to myself as an applied anthropologist, which involves a lot of community organizing to help people gain power on their own terms. That's kind of where I'm at.
Awesome, thank you. Well, we're a really small group today, so I think we can go ahead and just unmute ourselves and ask questions if you have any. Or Julie, I don't know if you'd like to maybe give us a little bit of background of why this issue is important to the Wisconsin Farmers Union maybe first, and then we can jump into taking questions from everyone.
Sure. Maureen, I see you raising your hand up there in my right-hand corner.
No, I'm not raising it. I'm just holding my.
I gotcha. Okay. All right. Yeah, let me tell you just a little bit about the Wisconsin Farmers Union and our involvement on this issue. Wisconsin Farmers Union is the second biggest ag organization in the state. We've been around Wisconsin since 1930 and around the United States since the early 1900s. If you think back to the progressive era, right? We had a lot of organizing going on in farm and labor, and those are where our roots are. Look at things like LaGrange movement, Nonpartisan League, Farmer Labor Alliance, even if going back into Wisconsin, the days of Robert La Follette and the progressive era, that's really where we see the roots of the Farmers Union. We're a 501c3 and a 501c5. C5 is a labor or ag organization. We are nonpartisan. I have met everybody from libertarians to socialists under the big tent of the Farmers Union, Trump voters, and plenty of Democrats as well. And so a big tent is hard to keep, as you all know, and yet I'm really proud of the way that we conduct grassroots organizing in the Farmers Union. All of our policy that we lobby on is developed by our members. It's a very intense grassroots organization. So those members come together every year to put together policy, which then we lobby on, and we conduct programming around all year. We're not just a lobby organization, we're also an education organization, and we also help to build cooperatives. That's where a lot of our roots are, is in farmer cooperatives. You may know about Cenex. That was a cooperative that we originally had started in the Farmers Union. And we do a lot of education around cooperatives, including at the camp that we own, Camp Kenwood on Lake Wissota, for youth every summer. So gerrymandering is really important to our members. We already feel a little bit about like David against Goliath with monopoly ag organizations trying to protect family farms, and it is really hard to win anything in our political arena when you don't have people power. And we don't have it really right now because of gerrymandering and other anti-democratic events and policies occurring across the nation. So for some of our members, gerrymandering has been a really big issue. One of the key figures in the Farmers Union, Hans Breitmoser, has been incredibly active in gerrymandering and anti-gerrymandering efforts. And our members this last year, we have had gerrymandering as part of our policy for 6 years in the Farmers Union. But this last year, members voted it in as a special order of business. And we also were lucky enough to get some grants, including from Wisconsin Voices and other funders coming in through the election season to help really raise this issue up. And so the video was one of the results of that. We're also doing relational organizing, like all of you. And Bill Hogseth is really spearheading that on behalf of the Farmers Union. We've done also participated in just strategic messaging, op-eds, bumper stickers, just Facebook ads, trying to get the issue out that way. And so that's we have a multi-pronged approach, and we would love to synergize with all of your efforts and really try to make this big push here in Western Wisconsin in this last few weeks before the election. But after that, we still have an uphill battle, right? This is not a one and done kind of thing. So I'm excited to hear about more of what you all are doing and how we can help support you. Questions, issues?
I have a quick question. How many members are there in Wisconsin Farmers Union?
We have over 2,000 members, but a member can be a family. I'll tell you, it's not just farmers. This is an organization that has a lot of policy that anybody would be in favor of, I think, in this little chat room. And so a membership is $30 a year for a whole family. And so if you assume that there's a couple people behind every membership, we're running pretty strong there. Although we're not going to win any fights with just farmers, because that number is very small right now in the United States. So if you're interested at all in joining in or checking us out, please follow up on the website or give me a call. Let's chat.
Thank you.
Julie, I was going to ask you if you could just email our group what it would take to join the Farmers Union, because my husband and I have 32 acres involved in bee culture and pine trees, but still.
Well, there you go.
We qualify.
It does, yeah, you don't have to be a farmer. I'm not a farmer. Many of our members are not. They're farmer advocates. They believe in family farms. They're against monopolization of our lands and our resources. And they believe in economic democracy as well as pro-democracy stances. And so you'd find a lot of kindred souls, Ellen, and probably some good educational resources for your farmer for your land as well, including women caring for the land events and things like that. So yeah, I'll send a link.
Okay, great.
I have a question. Are you guys active with regard to the CAFO situation?
Oh yeah, especially our Polk County chapter, our Green Lake area members. I mean, we believe that Wisconsin has room for all kinds of farmers. And we have some larger farmers for sure in the organization. What we're opposed to is the corporate takeover of land and farming as becoming such a corporate model. And so as small farms are consolidated, CAFOs take over, and it hurts our water, it hurts our economic democracy. Who gets to own the farming land in the United States? Oftentimes it's becoming foreign interests. And so, yeah, we are certainly advocating for local control. That's one thing you'll hear us say a lot in the CAFO fights is like, let democracy work. And if county boards decide that they are going to implement higher regulations, for example, than what is allowed by the state, that should be their local democratic right.
And what kind of a fundraising do you guys engage in? Because I've never been asked to contribute, for example.
Yes, it's a really good question, Carol. Most of our funding actually comes from our partnership in Farmers Union Enterprises, which is a 5-state partnership where there are businesses such as Artex manure spreaders and rendering plants, and we used to own Sweet Scoops, kitty litter, and because of that partnership, then most of our operating budget is covered from the dividends that we get every year from that partnership. But we also write a lot of grants, and it also contributes to our operating budget. But I'm a lucky executive director that I don't have to chase the dollar all the time.
That's lucky.
Is Senex still a part of that coalition of businesses?
No, we are not part of Synex anymore. There was a shift on board a few years ago. We still receive grants and everything from Synex Harvest States, the foundation side of that. So we're still connected, but not in a partnership way anymore.
Okay, thank you.
I
Julie,
just like to add,
this is,
go ahead.
I was going to just a quick question to clarify on how it is that there's that partnership that's within the 5 states. I had heard somewhere that it was the founders, more or less, of Farmers Union that had the wisdom that it was not going to make it be possible to generate funds constantly to run such a thing as Farmers Union from the farmers themselves. And so they found the business they wanted to have the businesses generate the funds to be able to forward the work. Is that a right summary of the history of the Farmers Union?
Yeah, that's my understanding. And some farmers unions in other states are part of insurance, kind of like Farm Bureau. And so they have a lot more members, for example, North Dakota, South Dakota. Even they, though, are part of this industry partnership. It's really difficult to have the operating funds for any organization really to be able to exist solely on member dues.
For sure. Thanks for that clarification. Appreciate it.
With regard to gerrymandering, I would just like to ask all of you, what are you learning through your relational organizing, and what kinds of stories and tactics appear to be working in swaying people's opinions?
I think the biggest thing is just education, because a lot of people don't know about the issue at all. So when they learn about it, and they say, wow, you're kidding me. And then I'm always trying to get people to watch that movie, because it really that's just it in a nutshell, what's going on. It's a great movie, that's Slaying the Dragon. Once people have seen that, then they start becoming, apostles, and they can go and teach other people.
Yeah, I think part of it is just reaching out to people, even in any way. You know, we've tried a lot of different events, and like even we had our little fall in line parade where we stopped, and we stopped at the co-op and various places. But if you can get someone's attention and show them, like all these other counties are doing it, we have the referendum, so it's a kind of an easy sell, and then just explain it to them, most people are on board. I think to me, the biggest problem is making the legislators listen to us so that they will actually hear some of this legislation. And the People's Map Commission is a great tool, but it's advisory. So I think it's not really a question for you now, but something that we can think about is how can we best use the information that comes out of this commission and force legislators to pay attention to it, because they don't really have to look at it at all. But there's a lot of good information that people are presenting at the hearings, and there hopefully will be some good maps as reference tools. But how as an organization, and you have the beauty of having, like you said, your big tent with a lot of different voices and a lot of different people. Some of our organizations don't have quite that diversity amongst, you know, we have a lot of, everybody's working in their own bubbles, and breaking through to somebody else's bubble is pretty difficult.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree with you, Anne-Marie. I think we're all going to need to retool after the election and try to figure out what the next steps might be in terms of influence on electeds, right? I mean, the idea that you could have the majority of counties and the majority of citizens that say that they want something and that it still doesn't happen is still astounding to me, but people don't understand that that is what this does to us, that anti-democratic policies actually have those kinds of repercussions where people really don't win. They don't get their policies enacted. And I don't know how else to tell that story, but beyond what we're doing, but we definitely, I think, need to retool after November 3 and figure that out.
Could I add something to that? I think one of the things that's also happening is building some coalitions with groups that are not your usual players, who like Represent Us, like Unite America, like Voters First, the Millennial Project, that are already have a broader cross section of the electeds listening to them. I do think that that the leadership, the legislative leadership, is not taking us seriously at this point because they do feel pretty insulated. And I'm very hopeful that this election will give them a little bit of comeuppance in that regard, that there will be some things that happen that they're not expecting. By the same token, I think that, you know, once they are paying attention to us, that we have to be ever more vigilant and also reaching across the aisle. You mentioned Slay the Dragon. There's also a film that has just come out that focuses on the 2016 election and just how impacted some of the folks who were trying to run for office were in that election. And so this would be a good time to tell you that there were, they said 38 in the 2016 election is in the Farmers Union video. There are only 18 this time around, that are only 18 seats that are unopposed. 6 of those are Democrats, 4 in Milwaukee and 2 in Madison, and 12 of those are Republican. And I just took the time to mark on my map where they are. And you probably can't see it, but they're mostly in the WOW counties. There are a few, like Jeff Mersa, who is on board with the nonpartisan redistricting, is running unopposed. There was one in Marathon County and one in Outagamie County, but the rest are mostly in the WOW counties and then down in Kenosha County. So, you know, it's progress. 38 to 18 is major progress, and all of the candidates are running really strong races. So I think all of those things should be reasons for us to feel optimism that we have more of an opportunity to be heard, because even though those folks may not win in those races, they are all Fair Maps candidates. So that's a really positive thing.
Carlene, what is that movie that you mentioned that was about the 2016 election?
It's Can You Hear Us Now? And I just talked with the people who made it yesterday. They're going to be making it available to us. I don't have the details on it yet, but as soon as I do, we have some concerns because we are nonpartisan, and it could be viewed as fairly partisan. We just have to be careful how we use it.
Awesome.
The other thing I would just suggest that some of our members have asked for is that we need to train people to run for office in a major way. And I know so many women, for example, that ran for office this year on their city councils, on their school board. People, I think so much of, especially millennials that I know, have said, I just can't say that I did nothing. And that was their call to action, and that they just stepped up and ran for a local office. And so I think that that is really something that we all can encourage across our organizations after the election, is just encouraging people, asking them time and time again to step up and run and start to infiltrate, from the grassroots, right? With candidates that believe in fair maps. And that will slowly begin to, I think, push 2021 leverage. And so the next time would be April, right? Am I mistaken? Nope, April. So start talking to people now.
And there's go ahead.
Can you take a moment, Julie, to help us see the difference between the Wisconsin Farmers Union and the Farm Bureau?
Yeah, that's a great question, and people mix it up all the time. So I would say, if you were going to put a couple columns together and describe some of the differences between the two organizations, Farm Bureau does have a fairly large insurance membership in the state of Wisconsin, where people who become Farm Bureau members get a discount on insurance, and so they have a larger, I think, economic base in Wisconsin because of that. Farm Bureau has more members. They're the largest organization in the state. They tend to run more conservative than the Farmers Union members. And oftentimes when I have been at testimony and hearings, Farm Bureau has been there in support of big agribusiness. However, I can tell you that we cooperate with Farm Bureau on multiple things. And in the state of Wisconsin, one of our biggest victories this last year was coming together with Farm Bureau on supporting a dairy supply management program and investigating supply management in the dairy industry. And that took a lot of conversation. It took a crisis, election of new leadership in the Farm Bureau to really warm up to that idea. But we work with Farm Bureau members across the state and with their leadership on specific topics. Mental health is another one, farmer mental health, that we really cooperate with them. I would say definitely, though, if you were going to put us on an ideological spectrum, the Farmers Union would be a lot more left-leaning and small and family farm oriented in general.
Thank you.
Anti-monopolistic would be how I would describe Farmers Union.
Thank you.
As far as educating and getting candidates to run, you're probably aware of the Emerge Wisconsin, which I think maybe is a Democratic organization. I don't know. But I know that there's one in Minnesota called Women Winning, who put up a lot of, Emerge is all about women, training candidates to run, helping them with fundraiser, with speech writing, with all kinds of stuff. And because they're funded by grants and contributions, then the people who are interested in running, it's free for them to learn all about everything they need to know, which is a great organization. In case you've never heard of it, they could always use support, both of them. Emerge Wisconsin is the state arm of, I think there's a nationwide Emerge. So in case you never heard of it, it's cool.
As
have
more and more small family farms are going out of business, how does the Farm Bureau maintain their grasp on small farmers, even when it's against the small farmers' best interests?
Well, I would say farmers stick together, and oftentimes, even when a small farm, like a family farm, is worried about a CAFO coming in, they'll stick together because they're afraid that an attack on one is an attack on all. And so you find a lot of, I mean, I would say the majority of farmers are probably going to stick together on some of those issues around CAFO regulations, for example. I would say our members are probably in the minority nationwide on some of those topics. So, you know, many of our members don't want to be regulated, but they see regulation that protects, you know, corporations as in a negative light, right? And so they definitely see an economic democracy issue there, and they're concerned about it. But farmers sometimes just go mute because they don't, you know, they don't want to have anybody attack their neighbor, and they're worried that it's coming to them next. That's about the easiest way, Ed, I could really describe it. Does that make sense to people? Is that what you hear in your neck of the woods, I guess?
Yeah, I'm not sure, but thank you.
Mm-hmm.
It's very helpful.
Is there one last question we want to fit in before we end this section of our meeting?
I raised a point in our small group that had just occurred to me. It would be interesting to have some data about listening sessions conducted by representatives and senators in Wisconsin, and whether the number of listening sessions has gone down since districts became safe.
I can probably answer that question. There is a woman who is actually in the film that I mentioned to you that we hope to use, Sheila Plotkin, who after the 2010 election and then really after Act 10 started something called We the Irrelevant. And she has, through open records requests, been able to really reveal how many requests legislators have gotten for certain kinds of legislation, and been able to say, you know, based on all of this data, and she has the data, emails, phone calls, listening sessions, all of that, what percentage of people want something and what percentage of people don't. And she has that listening session information. So it's wetheirrelevant.org, I believe, all one word, or you can just Google Sheila Plotkin, Plotkin. She's a wealth of information. Ellen, are you talking? Are you asking a question?
Can you either put that in the chat or send it out in an after?
I'll send it to Janelle.
Great.
Awesome. Well, Julie, thanks so much for joining us today. It was very, very enriching, and I look forward to having our organizations work synergistically and collaborating into the future. I think that's really, really powerful. So thank you.
Yeah, it's been a great little partnership here that we've formed. Janelle, you're doing great work, and we appreciate all of the time you're putting in. Thank you so much, everybody. It's going to make a huge difference. I have a feeling that we're gonna win on this. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Well, eventually the people win, right? So
keep the hope alive.
Yep, exactly. So we've just got a couple slides left of like what's coming next, things to keep in mind. So first, I'll let Anne Marie cover candidate forms.
I'll cover our non-forms that we attempted to schedule. The league. Basically, the Republican candidates wouldn't say no, they wouldn't participate, but they were unable to provide a date to have these form scheduled. So what we're asking people to do then is for information, just go to the WPR archives from the west side, that there's recorded kind of debates, questions to both candidates, that the candidates did participate in those. Some of them date back to August. So that's the best we can do right now. We're disappointed that we weren't able to hold any forums for our local representatives.
Probably another outcome of gerrymandering because they don't need to, like we were just saying. Yep. Great. A couple more announcements. Anne, you want to cover this one?
Yeah, Janelle and I are planning another event to advertise all of the issues in River Falls on Saturday, October 24th. We've titled our event, Strengthen Democracy, Support the Process. And I don't want to just advertise River Falls. I'm hoping that people in other communities would also like to organize something on a community level, not a county level. It's meant to be simpler than the countywide efforts, maybe something that's an hour and a half long, where you can organize some people to parade or show signs on a corner or in a main street, or drive a small parade around your town. And the idea on October 24th is, of course, get out to vote, but we want to start pushing the message of helping the democracy happen, unfold the way it's supposed to, especially after the election, when probably declaring a winner, counting ballots and declaring a winner is not going to happen as quickly as people think. And there is a lot of fear right now, I think, in how that week or whatever is going to play out. So it's trying to get people to support the process, the democratic process. And also thanking people who are involved in our democratic process, as in the county clerk and the poll workers and the mail carriers. And we're thinking of maybe providing postcards that people could send to people who help us through this democratic process. So basically that's it. If you know of somebody, or if you would like to organize something similar in your community, please contact Janelle and we will certainly share our planning with you. I'm looking forward to it. I really like the idea of now working towards strengthening the democracy that's there and supporting everybody that helps us make sure that our votes are counted and we have a fair election process.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. And so the idea is to start on October 24th, which is in the middle of the early voting process, and then go for 4 weeks. So that would be 2 weeks before the election and 2 weeks after. I don't know why these are popping up in a funny way. So Carlene mentioned we do have signs. If you're in the Menominee area, I think there are a lot at the Wisconsin Dems office. If you're closer to me in Baldwin, I have a bunch here too. So just send me an email, hello@piercecountygrow.org, and we'll figure out how to get you signs. They say end gerrymandering with the logo of the Fair Maps Wisconsin Coalition. So really beautiful, simple messaging, purple. If you'd like one, let me know. And that's about it. I don't think there's anyone new on this call. And yeah, so just reminder, our goal is to vote for candidates who have signed the Fair Maps pledge, and then remember to talk to 3 more people. Carlene?
Tomorrow is the last day to be able to register to vote online. And so please remind people who may not want to go in that they need to do that. And also, just so you know, at this point, ballots have to be in by November 3rd. There's no extension on that. So please, encourage people to get those right back in.
Yeah. And if someone hasn't voted online, their option is to go vote with register. If they haven't registered online by the 14th, they can go register with their clerk or on the day of the election. But the sooner the better.
Early voting starts October 20th, so a week from today.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you everyone very much for your energy, your work, your great ideas. And our next call is Tuesday, November 10th, right after the election, we're going to do a deep dive into the People's Map Commission and then check in with people to see who's interested in kind of participating in the transition of what the project will look like after January, or after Christmas, after the holidays. So please join us then. And the most common way people give up their power is by thinking they don't have any. We have power and we can make a change, and together we can do it. So thank you so much for being part of this journey. We will have fair maps in Wisconsin. All right, take good care. Happy voting. Happy spreading the word. Bye.
Thanks, Janelle.
Yeah, take care, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. So long, so long.
Thanks,
No.
Janelle.
Yeah, my pleasure.
I have not found anyone to take that 4x8 sign yet. So
Oh, okay.
that's up for grabs. If you know someone who has a visible location, I can deliver it.
Okay.
I sent a message to Lorraine too.
You sent a message to Lorraine? Okay. If she doesn't have anyone, then we might just return it to Prescott and Juliet for storage.
Right.
Terry, where do you live? Remind me.
I live at the end of a 1 mile gravel road on Flurry Ridge Lane. So if I had a sign, no one's going to see it.
Yeah, the deer.
The deer, yeah.
All right, well, if you don't find a spot for Douglas, let's arrange to get it back to Prescott and Juliet, and they
Right.
can store it until April or whenever we need it again.
Okay.
Super. Take care,
Thank you.
everyone.
Good job.
Enjoy
Thanks,
the
Janelle.
day. Bye.